Welcome to a post-game solo dolo OU Insider post-game podcast or live or question, whatever you want to call it. We're here for you, the fans. Something we wanted to start this week. I want to remind everybody that next week we will be giving away tickets on OU Insider. So remember that to the Iowa State game. And if you were an OU Insider member, VIP member, we are doing a tailgate for everybody. Food, drinks, TV, games, fellowship with your community at OU Insider on Lindsay Street. Come join us. We are going to be starting probably 3 or 4 hours before the game. Get it cracking and have some fun. But Oklahoma won today 20-6 in the Big 12 opener. It was a big game for the Oklahoma Sooners. They had to get this victory. There was a lot riding on this victory. Could Oklahoma get over the 3-0 start? It was everything that you could probably think of coming into this game. It felt like it was more than maybe it should be after Cincinnati lost to Miami of Ohio last week. But that game didn't really, in my opinion, make Oklahoma feel like they were, or Cincinnati, feel like or look like they were the team that they really are. That's a good football team. One way or the other, that's a good football team. And I think Oklahoma fans, I think you guys know that. That was a tough environment to go into. The first actual rough environment for the Sooners team to go play in, which was a big deal for them to come out victorious. Because that's what it's going to be like times 100 when they go to Dallas. Even though it's half Oklahoma, it's still going to be like that in Dallas. So they needed to get some experience in that. A lot of new guys. I think, first off, you have to talk about the defense. And I'm going to pull up some of the stats here. They held Cincinnati to 376 total yards, 235 through the air, 141 on the ground. I think the biggest stat you can look at, though, and I think this tells you everything you need to know about this. There's two stats about Oklahoma's defense right here. Cincinnati was 3 for 15 on third downs. 3 for 15. They were also only 1 for 4 on fourth downs, which means 25% of the time they connected on a fourth down. And even that one was questionable, that the refs even had to go back and look at it. And it was probably the longest stoppage in play for replay that they had all day. Cincinnati averaged 4.8 yards. They didn't even average 5 yards a play. They barely averaged a little over 10.5 yards per pass play. 3.8 rushing. Guys, women, men, whoever, Oklahoma fans, this is a different Oklahoma team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. I think the offense is going to get rolling. I really do. I really feel like this offense is going to start, I guess, you saw it in the second half a little bit. And I think the new clock rules make it look a little worse than maybe it is. When they got the ball rolling and they started running the ball successfully, the offense started being a lot more consistent, moving the chains. And I think I see it, and I understand Oklahoma fans. I understand your frustration with the offense. I get it. But I see some of the comments, some people that were hating earlier on Dylan Gabriel. And I said it in the chat. I typed it up before we got going, and I said, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But he was still 26 for 38, 322 yards, a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown in the air. He had 25 yards rushing. He had 68% completion percentage and a QB rating of 148.3. Okay. I get it. Oklahoma fans. That is not Caleb Williams. That is not Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray type stats as far as scoring. Oklahoma needs to hit the big play more. You can't overthrow some of those balls of over 50 yards that he missed. Andrew Anthony made a great play. I think DG, for everybody that questions his arm strength, gets a little bit too much gas in the chamber and lets it rip a little too hard sometimes when they're wide open. And then other times when they're covered, he throws a perfect 50-50 ball where, Andrew Anthony, Nick Anderson, Jalil Farouk, Drake Stoops, Freeman, whoever, they go up and they make the play for him. Jaden Gibson. He probably should lean on that a little bit more. Yeah, you may have some interceptions here or there, but they have the horses at wide receiver to make that play over most anybody that's guarding them. And I think it's it's something that they're going to have to get a little bit more proficient at throughout the game, throughout the season. They have to. They have to. The offensive line looked when they switched their blocking scheme. And I thought that was such a key thing during the game. And yeah, I'm not at the game this week. My wife is 38, 39 weeks pregnant. Couldn't risk it. So I stayed back. The other guys are there and they'll be joining me on a post game podcast. I do want that cleared up. But I thought the run game, when they switched the blocking, I thought that was key. That was probably the biggest key to Oklahoma separating themselves away from Cincinnati today. I thought going to the zone blocking, going to a lot of the pulls, the GT counters, that type of stuff that they started to use. And no, you can't. Allen Heath, Jackson Arnold is not like, come on, man. Come on, guys. Like, I'm the biggest Jackson Arnold guy in the world. I'm reading the chat and trying to talk at the same time here. But again, the blocking scheme was big in the second half. And I think they need to continue to utilize that. I think it looked like they were finding um, a little bit more cohesiveness with the unit that they used in the second half. I do want to point out Troy Everett because I think he may be one of the hardest playing offensive linemen I can remember at Oklahoma. If you go back and watch 52 throughout the, if you go back and watch the game, sorry, I'm trying to read all this stuff, and the Jackson Arnold stuff is cracking me up. Um, Troy Everett, straight up, is always downfield trying to make that extra block. The dude's an animal as far as his hustle. I'd have to go back and watch and see how efficient he is with his blocking and his assignments. But downfield, that cat he's always the one down the field no matter what, trying to get that extra push, that extra nudge, that extra yard and help his teammates out. And I think that's probably what makes Bill Beanbo like him so much at that left guard position. So we'll see if he continues to progress at that spot as well. I get the refs. I see the comments. I get the refs, but it was both sides, guys. Like there were plays that I looked at and was like, "Ooh, Oklahoma got away with something," here or there. So um, there's a lot of that, and I see a lot of Jaron Canick questions as well. I don't know. He was spitting up blood. Um, in the third quarter, if you go back and look at my Twitter, I commented and I said he looks gassed. He looks gassed. And he did. It looked like something happened earlier in the third to where he just couldn't breathe. And yet he kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And honestly, him staying in hurt Oklahoma a couple of times because there was on that play where I want to say, I can't remember what corner, was it Woody Washington that got held out there? I want to say um, whenever he got held on that little slip screen and they got the first down and they didn't call it. Canick still had an opportunity to make the play and he didn't. He pulled up because he was just so gassed. And then the very next play, he did the same thing. And so he continued to fight. He continued to fight. And I think he hit it pretty well when he would go back to the sidelines. And so it took him actually collapsing He propped up really fast like the Undertaker after he did it, but still, it was something. I mean, something, we'll try to find out. I'm sure Venables in the post-game presser is gonna talk a lot more about it. I haven't heard anything. I put a couple text messages out to some people. I haven't got a response back. I'm sure they're trying to well, away games, they try to get in and out really quick. So, there's a lot of moving parts. People usually don't get back to me till they hit the buses. So we'll see what happens there if we can get it. It looked like a sternum or something to that effect. Um, but that's I guess. I don't know. I don't think it was a head thing. But I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, whatever. Yes, Stutzman is a monster. Yeah, that dude. He if he isn't up for the Butkus, I question everybody's sanity that actually votes or pays attention to college football. That dude last year was one of the best linebackers, and everybody, I think you're starting to see now that he isn't overused and he gets a break here or there, that things are a lot better for him and a lot better for Oklahoma. If he's not gassed and he can play and his legs aren't worn out and the defensive front in front of him is playing as well as they do and have over the last 4 games, taking up blocks, allowing him to sift through the trash and get to where he needs to be. And on top of that, his understanding of the defense in year 2. The guy is an absolute animal. And I'm gonna say it, he may be the best linebacker in the country at this point. And I don't think that's an over exaggeration. I don't. You can tell me in the comments if you think it's an over exaggeration, what I just said. I think he may be one of the top one, two, three linebackers in the country right now, at least how he's playing. So let's see here. If you guys have questions, ask me. Let's see what we can do. Let's get to it. I don't want to be on here for more than maybe 20, 25 minutes, but I do. Uh, yeah, I knew people were going to ask about Bussy and Wesco. Oklahoma is working on some things there. I'm not one to put the cart before the horses. Some people might. I'm not. I doubt you'll see Scoop or anybody else do that either. So I'm just going to sit here and say that yes, we've said it continuously on the podcast. We've said it continuously on OU Insider VIP. Oklahoma's continually to work those guys. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, I think Emmett Jones is doing a fantastic job staying in their ear. I think this week is going to be critical for Oklahoma and just their momentum with both. They've got to get one or two. And I get that Bussy's going to announce on the 28th. I think you're going to see some ebbs and flows this week. I still kind of want to say it's A&M for Bussy, but I'm starting to believe in the hype a little bit more around Oklahoma with things I'm hearing behind the scenes as far as Wesco goes. I was talking to an OU commit last night, and I was around multiple at the Cole Albert game, so I'll leave it at that. And I would expect this Iowa State game to be a lot of a who's who in recruiting in 24, 25, and 26. Just letting y'all know that. So if you're not on OU Insider VIP, be on it. This week should be fun on the recruiting front as far as visitors, official visits, all that happening. It should be a blast to cover. And then obviously you got the drama with Bussy. So yeah. All right, let's get to some questions here. More questions. Brendan, what do you feel about the run guy? Like I said earlier, I think the move to the zone blocking, the move to a lot more pooling and not what you would call head up blocking, essentially is what Oklahoma was doing a lot of in the first and what they have been doing. It's a lot of head up. It's a lot of, you know, if your guys in front of you, you got them. If you're open, if you're free, depending on the call, you're basically going to combo for a split second, reach the second level, all that type of stuff. I think the zone blocking schemes, I think the athleticism that the offensive line has across the board, I think it fits them. I really do. I think it fits them a lot better. So I loved that move back to the GT counters. Um, but yeah, there you go. Gabe said he had no idea why they weren't zone blocking, and they did. They went to it in the second half. I totally agree with Gabe. I have no idea why they haven't been doing that all season. That's been Oklahoma's bread and butter for years. And with the athleticism that this offensive line has, the size that they have, utilize it. Utilize it. Overpower them. Let the running backs find a hole, not just, all right, you got to hit the A gap, you got to hit the B gap, you got to hit the 6 hole or the 5 hole or the 4 hole or 3 hole. Like, you give them opportunity to use their speed, their athleticism in the backfield and make plays in their vision. And I think you started to see that in the second half, and it worked like a charm for Oklahoma. And they started moving the ball on the ground, and it was a lot better. Is Williams Nwaneri visiting potentially next week? I'm not going to dive into that right now. I get it. I get everybody wants to know that. That's not something I'll publicly talk about. That's something that when or if he arrives on campus, we will give you deep details of how it all took place, because it's something we're very much monitoring behind the scenes. I promise you. And we've told you, and I've told you a million times on OU Insider and even on the podcast and lives, like, do not be surprised if he shows up to a game. And I think this is the perfect game to show up to, is the Iowa State at night. So um, was Jeff Lebby play calling conservative in the first half? I don't think it was. They took shots downfield. Um, I thought he tried to get too pretty, if you will, too tricky at some point. Like, the outside, they were playing off. They were trying to bring pressure, and so they were playing off, and they didn't want Oklahoma to beat them deep, because that's what Oklahoma wants to do. They want to suck you in, and then just throw it deep. And so they weren't gonna. They laxed their coverage, and that's why you saw Andrew Anthony, Jalil Farouk, Nick Anderson so wide open on those quick passes. And he utilized it all the way down the field until he got about the 30-yard line. Then it kind of went away. And I get that it's harder because essentially the defense creeps up a little bit more, but there's other ways to do it. And again, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. If they don't start utilizing Austin Stogner, they're going to have issues. You've got to get the tight end the ball at least 2 or 3 times a game. Present that option to the safeties. Make them account for him across the middle. Make him. He's a big target. Make him account for him. It doesn't matter if you complete the ball. Target him. Please target him across the middle a little bit more and watch things open up deep for you a lot more as far as the outside goes. Levy is not clueless, Robert Grier. They're one of the 2 teams with the top 5. Like, you look at the stats again, I'm going to tell you guys this. Oklahoma had almost 430 yards of total offense today. That's a really good day of offense. 21 first downs. I think the execution part on third down was the worst that it could possibly be. Had some drop passes, some missed pass interferences. All that accounts to add up to the 6 for 16. And I get stats mean nothing. I get it. I get that to everybody, stats mean nothing. But when you account with the stats, with some of the drop passes, some of the overthrows that Dylan had, some of the um, missed pass interferences, that all adds up and accounts for the 6 for 16. Make no mistake, Oklahoma's got to be better on offense. Has to. But they've also got to execute, and it doesn't all hinge on Levy. Like, the players have to execute. Let's see. Who else has a question here before we get out of here? About 5 more minutes of this. The defense played as good as I've seen in some time. Agreed. I think this defense is deep. I think this defense is talented. I think this defense is smart this year. I think the football IQ last year was about as bad as I could ever remember it at Oklahoma. And it's like a 180, guys. Like, and I get the transfer portal, but honestly, when you look across the board, yeah, they are playing some new guys. There's just a lot of kids understanding it. I think the 6 and 7 season woke up this team, woke up the program as a whole, all the way up to the administration and the donors. That's why you're seeing the NIL game pick up quite a bit. That's why you're seeing a lot of the stuff that Oklahoma's doing within the program, the additions of coaches, analysts, support staff, recruiting, all that type of stuff. And I think the players. I think the players saw, oh, there's an OU, there's the interlocking symbols on the side of our helmet. We're going to be good. It doesn't work like that anymore. Not with the parity of the transfer portal. You've got to do this and do it right. All right. Thank you for the super chat. Josh Crenshaw, will officiating be lopsided every game from here on out? Extremely frustrating. Good W, but need improvement in the run game. Agreed on all fronts. I would expect that. Yeah, I would totally expect that. When you have the commissioner blatantly out there saying things against Oklahoma and Texas, I mean, just set yourself, go into a game against other Big 12 opponents that are going to stay in the Big 12 and know that you're probably not going to get the benefit of the doubt 95% of the time at this juncture. And that's not an excuse. You've got to overcome that. If you're Oklahoma, no excuses. Overcome it. And they did so today. I think if there were calls that should have been called, this game is probably 34-6, to be honest. I think you got 2 more touchdowns in the chamber for Oklahoma, and it looks way better on the scoreboard. And I don't think a lot of people are going, okay, blame this on this, blame this on that on the offense, whatever. How about PJ being alien? Like PJ Adupuju Adebaware is, I've been working on that, just so y'all know, is a dude. And now think about this. You could have DeJoun Terry returning next year. You have obviously the majority of the interior of the defensive line returning next year outside of Jonah Laulu. You're losing Bothroyd, but you're bringing in you're going to return PJ Adebaware, and you're going to have David Stone. You're going to have Jaden Jackson. You're going to have Wyatt Gilmore, Danny Okoye, and then whoever they grab, obviously Trace Ford, and then whoever they grab out of the portal. I mean, you can have Ethan Downs, all that. Like the defensive line, I want to ask you guys, as OU fans, is this the best defensive line? And Nigel Smith, correct. Brent Chapman, correct. Nigel Smith. Is this the best defensive line talent, even going into the next year, that you all can remember? And our Mason Thomas, but we haven't got to see him very much because of the injury. Is this the best defensive line that you all have seen in years at Oklahoma? And I think about 2020, folks. Think about 2020, 2021. That D-line was nasty. Okay, there's a lot of those dudes who were in the NFL. Since 08. Next year we'll be in a stronger look. Yeah, agree. Totally agree. OU Bang, I know you want more PJ, but PJ is limited in his understanding, and Ethan Downs played really well today. I think I don't get it. Like that dude causes so many problems on his side. He may not get to the quarterback as much, but he causes the pocket to collapse quite a bit. Go back and rewatch the game. He played really well today. I mean, he was good. Exactly, Josie. He had a great game today. He was good. Um, uh, where's the tight end play like we saw last year? Especially, good question, right? I look like they tried to hit Blake over the middle on one of them, but I don't know. Like they were trying to do, it looked like a high kind of try to get a jump ball over the head of the shorter linebacker. And I think they realized after the fact that the personnel wasn't correct and that it should have been Stogner in there on that play. So it was a misuse at that point. Um, is there any unsatisfaction? Oh, yeah, of course there's unsatisfaction of playing time in the running back room. I don't understand the rotation. I feel like, and I will say, I thought Marcus Major got way better as it went along. But I felt like you needed to give the 2 sophomores a chance, or the redshirt freshman and sophomore, Beam Barnes and Sawchuk, a chance. I think ultimately at some point this season, I feel like those are gonna be your guys. I think they may not just be 100% there yet physically, and I think we saw that last week, but they've gotta get 2 and 27 going, as Levy said before. If they don't, there will be problems later on in the season. We've seen what 2 and 27 can do. We've seen it. I'm sorry. If you give them most of the reps in practice like you did leading up to that bowl game last year, the Cheez Bowl, against Florida State and that magnificent defensive line that they had, mind you, um, I imagine they will be more comfortable come game time. But you're trying to make everybody happy. You realize that Marcus Major and Tolby Walker are running out of eligibility, and I get it. I get it, but at some point, play your dudes. I even think Smothers should get some rotation. He's been really good, even in I get it, mop up duty, all that type of stuff, but he still looks really good. It's almost like he just makes things happen. I think Tolly Walker's a good player, though. I really do. I think he's great in short yardage. He's tough to bring down, and I love him out in the open because no DBs want to hit him. No DBs want to hit him. Did they ever throw, since they ever throw at Woody? I think they did. Um, did he not? Was it not him that got the PI? I can't remember. Somebody remind me if it was him. I can't remember if it was him. Um, yeah. Uh, Anybody remember on that front? As far as no, so he didn't get the PI. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one. That was Gentry. That's correct. That was Gentry earlier in the game. That's correct. Um, all right. A few more questions here, and I'll lock it up about a little after 30 minutes here. I appreciate y'all coming on here with us. Thank you so much. Remember our tailgate next week, going to start 3 or 4 hours before the game, maybe a little sooner than that, for Iowa State. Parker, myself, Brian, Jesse we will all make appearances. We will have food, we will have satellite, we will have all that for you guys on Lindsay Street. If you have an OU Insider VIP membership, come say hello. We'll be giving away promo codes for people too that want to come just try us out on OU Insider, all that. But we are going to be one of the people. That's the idea. Build the community. And we've got a lot of people trying to sponsor us and all that. We've got some other sponsors coming as well, not just Olipop, just so y'all know. Some other sponsors down the road you guys will like. Let's see here. A couple of last questions. Is there not part of you that thought, maybe Jackson could do a little bit better? No, not in that environment. Are you going to throw a true freshman out there like that? Really? I wouldn't. I don't think you do that unless you have to do that at that point. That's a tough. That's that's a lot to put on a dude that's, not been taking first team reps all week. I don't think you do that. Um, let's see here real quickly before we end it. Uh, Venable said the top priority were to improve the red zone, third and fourth down defenses, 3 stops on fourth down, fourth and 2, 2 interceptions, a ton of third down stops, a pass defended at the 1 yard. Yep. Defense is nasty this year, guys. It's nasty. If they can continue this, I guarantee you, Texas and everybody else in the Big 12, excuse my language, was watching this today and they were like, oh shit. Like they finally have a defense. And everybody knows the offense will get rolling at some point. They were averaging 55 points a game coming into this. So let's not pretend like they stink. Yeah, and the 2 teams that they played though, I will say this, the 2 teams they played that SMU's really they're gonna be a probably 9, 10 win team, 8, 9, 10 win team this year. And I'm probably gonna go out on a limb here and say Cincinnati's probably gonna win 7, 8, 9 games this year as well. And the 2 teams that were good on defense and had P5 talent, Oklahoma struggled a bit. But again, I want to say they caused their own. I don't really think Cincinnati did a lot to cause Oklahoma to stop. Poor execution. Poor execution. There was wide open guys. There was penalties. Just stupid plays cost them in big situations on offense. And yet they still racked up all this yardage and stuff, and stats don't matter, but they do play a part of the game. You have to have stats to actually, that's part of moving the ball. So they just need to figure out how to stay out of their own way. Last year it was the defense that couldn't stay out of their way, and this year it seems like the offense can't stay out of their own way. We'll see if they can fix this and get everything going together. All right. Yeah, that's going to do it. If you're not on OU Insider, go. We got a lot of coverage coming for y'all on OU Insider VIP, a lot of recruiting. This will be one of the bigger weekends recruiting, and we will be front and center with you guys on OU Insider VIP. I actually may throw out a promo code for you guys if you want to join. Go to OU Insider and go type in OU Insider 30. When you sign up, you can get it for free. Free. OU Insider 30. We'll give it to you for free. You do it today. I'll tweet it out. If not, and you're watching, listening, or whatever, OU Insider 30. You can get it for free. Sign up. Got a lot of recruiting coverage. Got a lot of team coverage coming for you all this week as Oklahoma has another big game next week against Iowa State. And a ton of top 100 guys are going to be in town. We can't wait to get that list out for y'all later on this week. So thank you guys. Oklahoma won 20-6. They're 4-0. They have a defense, folks. Oklahoma has a defense led by Danny Stutzman. The offense will get this thing going eventually, you would think. We'll see. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for joining me. Again, Oklahoma 20-6, 4-0 in the season. Should move up in the rankings again. You guys have a blessed day. Post-game podcast coming soon.